Hi, it's Ellie. Thank you for joining me for Wellness Wednesdays. We're going to do a little bit of some self massage techniques and some gentle breathing just to help us direct some kindness toward ourselves in this extraordinarily difficult time. So, thank you so much for all of the work that you do. Thank you. Thank you. You are making this very strange time as good as it can be, and you are really appreciated and loved. So, that said, I would love to help encourage us to direct kindness toward ourselves in this time. So we're going to just start by placing the hands over the heart. So anytime we come into a session where we're going to be focusing on mindfulness, we like to find an anchor, and oftentimes the anchor is the breath. We talk about the breath a lot. Taking a deep breath, finding your breath, calming your breath down. But sometimes that can be tricky, especially if we're already geared up. The breath is already out of control, or also we as soon as we start to notice it, we begin to control it and we try to change it, move it. Just noticing is enough to trigger that sense of wanting to do something with it. So we're going to use just this simple gesture of love as our anchor today. So I invite you to find a posture standing or sitting that feels alert but relaxed. And as you feel your whole body in space, find that awareness of your whole self here. Go ahead and draw the attention, so narrowing that attention to the space underneath your hands. Feeling into the chest, feel the weight of your hands on your chest. Feel the warmth of your hands. Notice what it feels like to have your hands over your heart on your chest. And then shift that attention from the chest into the hands. Feel the sensation of the chest rising and falling underneath your hands. Feel the texture of your skin or your shirt. Maybe feel your heart beating. And as you're in this space, acknowledge any of those difficult or challenging or, quote, negative thoughts that come up. I'm tired, I'm frustrated, I'm overwhelmed. Just let those things be true, let them come up, and we'll just gently remove the hands from the chest. So with all of this extra computer work, we're getting really tight in the neck. We're feeling a lot of tension in the back of our neck and our upper shoulders. And that's something that's really easy to feel. But whenever we are overtaxing these muscles with our head forward and our arms forward and overstretching these muscles in the back, we're also shortening up all of these muscles in the front. So what I want to do today is give us just a couple of techniques to help us find a greater sense of ease through these muscles in the chest and the fronts of the shoulders and the top of the neck, or the front of the neck rather, that are also causing a lot of discomfort and kind of they're like secret pain centers. So all of these big muscles, and I said I was going to get a picture of the pec muscles and I didn't. So all of the pectoral muscles connect in at some point along the sternum. So whenever we are working with a sore muscle, it's really good to get in there and do some cross fiber friction. That's this where we're going across the fibers of the muscle at the ends. So we're going to take our fingers, and I'm using the flat pads of my fingers here. You can also use your knuckles pretty gently, but I'm getting a little bit of friction going, feeling some heat into the skin and then deeper down. So when muscles are really, really tight, they don't want to stretch. So think about it like a rubber band. If you had a rubber band in the freezer, it might snap as you pulled it apart. So we're just bringing a little bit of heat into this area, which we also, by the way, did when we were holding our hands over our heart. So bonus, I love doing two things at once. So now the sternum, the muscles that attach into it are pretty warmed up. So I'm going to take the flats of my fingers, the underneath the pads of my fingers. Let's begin to make circles. You can feel in between your ribs. So as you feel that, that's where those connections are with the big pectoral muscles, and you can take it all the way down the sternum. So I'm using kind of a scoop and pull method. So I'm pulling on it as I wiggle. And sometimes this is so tender it almost hurts to touch. So if that is true for you, do not dig in, but do go ahead, and if you find a really sore spot, pause and send your attention there. So we imagine that we could send the breath into this sore place. We know that we can't send our breath into a muscle, but when we do that, actively sending our attention there, it does send a signal to the nervous system that I'm aware of you, I see you, and it's safe to calm down. So I'm pausing here, I'm offering that positive input to my nervous system, and I'm letting it soften and release. So then you can move your way up the sternum. So anytime you find discomfort, slow down. Try not to back off immediately, but do back off a little bit in terms of intensity. You don't want to hurt yourself. So always notice the difference between discomfort and pain. So then we're making our way all the way up the sternum, right underneath the collarbones here. So we don't want to go obviously into our soft tissue up there, but we're going to be right underneath it and just give it a little wiggle, moving in circles side to side. And we're not going to rub across the skin like this. I'm going to have us really press down a little bit and move the skin away so you can feel that muscle underneath there. And then you can make these circles going underneath the collarbone, walking from the sternum out to the shoulder, walking laterally in these circles, pressing, and my circle is pressing outward. So pretty flat fingers here, just making circles. You're also welcome to slide the hand across. You can just explore this and feel different sensations here. So as I begin to do this and I'm moving further, I'm actually going to take my opposite ear to that opposite shoulder or turn my head in that direction, just kind of feeling a stretch as I move this hand out. And then when you get out to the shoulder, feel free to do whatever feels good with the arm. So stretching it out often feels really good. I'll sometimes even take this hand and curl it around the top of the head of my shoulder and sort of clawing, pull it away a little bit. So we're moving that out. And then we'll move to the other side. So we're going to take those circles again. So I've got my wide flat fingers and I'm just walking my fingers along the collarbone. We're going to make a few passes. So walking, just making some circles. You'll notice one side is almost always tighter than the other. And then maybe if it feels accessible, doing a little bit of sliding. You'll probably notice that as you get around the middle of the collarbone, there's a sore spot, and that's the pectoralis minor where it connects in. So good to hang out there. You might, if you do press in a little bit, and then again, it's sort of that gentle scoop and press outward and down. You might feel it all the way back in the back of the shoulder blades. You might feel it up in the back of the neck. You might feel it all the way down the arm. There's a lot of tension that we hold in our chest without realizing it. So maybe extending that arm, maybe turning the head over the other shoulder. Really, I'm bringing myself back to this mantra of like soften, soften, soften. I want to soften and release. So then, once we feel like we're a little bit opened up and warmed up through here, we're going to do a little stretch. So taking that idea of that offering kindness toward myself, I'm going to take that same hand mudra, and I'm going to take the bottom hand and put it right underneath my collarbone on one side. So putting it right under there, and I'm gently just drawing down a little bit. And I'm going to take my other hand on top of it and pull down. And as I do that, then I'm going to lift my chin up a little bit. And you can move the head around, getting a nice big stretch all the way through the front of the neck here. Great, and we'll do it on the other side too. So take your time, do these stretches multiple times, and hopefully these are things you can do really briefly through the day. Multiple times is really better. So I'm going to take that hand right underneath my right collarbone, your left, right, whatever side you're doing, and placing the other hand on top of it, gently adding that weight and then that pull, and then stretch the neck up and away. Maybe rotating the neck, rotating the chin up, always coming to about an 80% of the fullness of the stretch. You don't want to overstretch because, again, that nervous system, it has positive and negative input. That's it. So we want to stay away from negative input, especially with overstretching the muscles. We want to send signals of safety and release here. So feel free to do that one a few times. And just offer that sense of openness and release and softness to yourself throughout the day. And so maybe giving a couple shoulder rolls back, forward, whatever you're doing throughout the day. Notice if your shoulders are starting to hunch up by the ears. It's so common. It's so hard to keep our shoulders relaxed when we're working through the day. And it's actually impossible when all of these muscles are really tight. So it's not possible to totally let go with the shoulders. My shoulders won't even go all the way down. But that's okay. You're still a great person. It's just that we can offer a little bit more love to ourselves. So with that, we're going to do a little bit of robin's breath to close out. So if you feel like you've had enough time and all you have time for right now is some stretching, then thank you for joining. If you'd like to do 5 rounds of a robin's breath mudra, or not mudra, a breath activity, we'll do that. So to start this, you're going to bring the hands together at the heart center and let them be kind of soft and relaxed. We want our shoulders to be easy. We are going to link our breath to our movement. So as we inhale, we're going to point the fingertips forward and stretch our hands out in front of us, keeping the gaze really neutral and lifting up that head. So our head is over our heart is over our pelvis, whether we're sitting or standing. And then as we exhale, we're going to bring the hands over our head and separate the hands, bending in the elbows and pressing the heart forward. So elbows back, heart forward. And then as we inhale, we're going to bring our hands back in front of us as they were at the beginning. But this time we're going to round our back, really scooping back and gently tucking the chin. So we're making a nice round shape and stretching our hands away from our heart. And then exhale, bring the hands back to heart center. So we'll do that 4 more times a little bit more quickly. So inhale, long, tall spine. Exhale, hands up and arms back. Inhale, rounding through the upper back, tucking the chin. Hands meet in front. Exhale, softening and drawing the hands back to heart center. Inhale, hands stretch away from us. Tall spine. Exhale, wide open heart. Elbows scrape the back wall behind us. Inhale, hands back together, rounding through the upper back, tucking the chin. And exhale, hands back to heart center. Twice more. Inhale, hands out, spine tall. Exhale, hands open wide, heart open. Inhale, scooping through the belly, rounding the upper back, tucking the chin. Exhale, hands back to heart center. Once more. Inhale, tall spine. Exhale, elbows back. Inhale, rounding through the back, tucking the chin. And exhale, hands back to heart center. Go ahead and shake out the hands a little bit. Anytime you need to do any stretches throughout the day, please take a minute. Take that time to really register in your body what the stretch feels like. Take a minute to appreciate yourself for how hard you're working and know that you are deeply loved. Thank you so much.